how me and my nephew were already making 2 and 3K by the time we were 20 years old. And you can maybe do it even earlier if you start right now. Listen to this story, and it's one of my best stories because it's something that I lived with my nephew. He lost his father at a very young age. Actually, his father left him at a very young age, so we were only 4 years apart in age. When I was like 18, he was 14. When I was 22, he was 18. And by the time I was 22, I had already built my first business, my coaching business, my training, everything in between. I was making more than 3K a month by the time I was 22. That's like almost 3 years ago. And there was this time where my nephew was about to grow up and go to the university for the first time. And he didn't know what to do. We were at my sister's house, which was his mother, and we were sitting around talking. He is not the type of guy that talks so much, so I was more like mentoring him. I was like his father. We were sitting around and talking. And I was telling him what to do in order to succeed. And this advice might be useful for you as well. And listen to what I told him. I told him that no matter what's the topic of your university, whether it's on arts, whether it's on programming, whether it's on law school, whether it's medicine, whatever, it doesn't even matter at the end of the day. What you study at the university does not matter. What matters is what you do when you are outside of the university, all those hours, all that free time that you have when you are a uni student. If you make money, depends on those hours, what you do on those hours. If you waste your time playing League of Legends, doing fucking nothing, going out with your friends every night and day, every week partying, then you won't make any money. And you won't be happy about that. My advice to him that every living hour you have after the classes you take, the hours, the lectures that you go through, every living hour that you have and free time, you have to study, learn, and educate yourself on what you actually care about a lot. One of his great strengths and interests was art. He got into first position in an art school for absolutely free because he was that good. So one of his great interests was art. He was drawing, he was a great drawer. And the other thing he really liked was programming. And he told me like, these are my interests, because I told him, you need to look what your interests are and focus on those, nothing else. What you study doesn't even matter, forget what you study. And he actually studied physical education, which has nothing to do with the actual work that he makes money off right now from. And I told him that, okay, we have programming, that's one thing you care about, good. We have arts, that's the second thing you care about, good. The best bet for you is to go onto YouTube and learn the most you can about programming. And then you can maybe start a channel to teach others, that's one thing. Or maybe you can, I don't know, start programming for a very big company or something. Everyone needs a programmer. Literally everyone nowadays. That's one thing. But the easiest one was to learn some and then teach some when you are at least one step ahead of someone else that wants to be taught from you. And it's actually very easy to build a channel online. That was my first advice. The second advice with the arts was do the same. Learn how to do this, learn how to do that. Learn how to maybe combine those two. Graphic design, online, whatever. And that's what he ended up doing at the end. Listen to this story. It's a very big story, but it's a nice one. And he was sitting there, I was 22 at that time, at my sister's house. He was 18, he was listening to me carefully. And I was telling him every single hour after your classes, you'll be studying and educating yourself about those interests of yours. 1 year later, while he was still 19, he built, and this has nothing to do with our conversation back then, but it was close enough because I dropped the seed inside his mind. And he started looking into this stuff and started learning. 1 year later, and when he was 19, my nephew, he started building a TikTok account that has more than 250k followers right now. It's insanely big. Where he was posting psychology content about different types of personalities. There's a very big niche on TikTok about these topics, and an actual app, contacted him because his content was so good, and they wanted him to advertise their app through his channel, through his following, the 250,000 followers that he gathered. And this app was paying him $250, basically euros, per post that he did, per TikTok. For one TikTok, 250 euros for one TikTok that he did. As a 19-year-old uni student at physical education, he was getting paid from a psychology company online from a TikTok account. This is insane. This is the times that we're living in. And all this came from the fact that I told him to don't care about what you study. Yeah, study, pass those exams, pass those lectures, pass those classes. But when you're out of the uni, just study on yourself. That's the point of this conversation. Study on yourself, study on your interests, study on your topics that fire you, put a fire inside your belly, and then teach them to someone, offer a product to someone, offer a service to someone. And he went in 19, advertising this basically for this company on some of his posts, and he was making 2k a month, 2,000 euros a month in Greece, where the minimum wage is 780 euros. And if a Greek, basically kid at 19 years old, that grew up without his father can actually do that, my nephew, anyone can do this. Anyone can do this. Anyone can do this. Now he works mostly on other stuff. He works mostly on drop shipping. He has many stores and he gets money from there. But that's how he started. That's how he started, and it was insane for him because at 19 years old, he was making 2k a month. He was making more money earlier than me because I started making like 1.5k, basically starting from zero, years ago before him, when I was like 20, and he was making 2k at 19. He was ahead of me. He had my advice because I did it first and then taught him. No one taught me, and he succeeded, of course. And now he's continuing on building his, basically his success. Now he has the momentum and just continues on building on that. And we often meet up and I gave him even more advice, but he was making 2k at 19 years old. I was making 3k a month by the time I was 22 years old. So yeah, those stories are real. Anyone can do this. Anyone can start from absolutely zero and build his business online, which what he did was actually just follow his feelings. He just followed his feelings, and he was like, oh, I care about psychology. Okay, let me just build. I like making content about this psychology topics and different psychology traits. And then the app contacted him, and he was making money from the app. It's insane, through advertisers. And if you would like to, at that point, he was able to maybe offer a product to his audience as well, offer a product or a service and make even more money. And it's a crazy story, it's a real one. I will show you my nephew another time, maybe, if we can get him on this channel. We will meet up again in Christmas, when he comes down here in Glyfada, Athens, where I live. But yeah, it was a nice story, and I thought it would be a great day to share it with you guys. My advice to you, to end this video, is that every single hour that you're not on your uni, on your work on yourself and your side hustle. Educate yourself on what you want to become. And if you act on this thing that you want to become, and act professionally, produce your content, show off your work to the people, people will notice. People will notice sooner or later. And then you will start making money and printing cash. So that's all for this video. See you on the next one.